Okay, hello YouTube. This is Evil Violator 124 here with Carcass Heartwork. Um, really, some people consider this melodic death metal, which I guess you could say that's what it is. I mean, I don't really care about like the overclassifying. I mean, it's death metal, but like this album is like it's like the Black Album or Countdown to Extinction to Carcass. I mean, it's like that. It's like the radio-friendly album. Of course, I think many of you have seen on the internet of like this album cover. Another thing missing from this is their really cool font. This is actually part of the pathologist report, which has the demo disc, the DVD footage, which I mean I guess where they talk about this album. Of course, you have the album on here. But you can see if you collect like all the pathologist support, like it like forms this picture, and this is number 5 on there, I believe, or no, number 4. Sorry about that. And yeah, that's part of the original Carcass logo. But I mean, what's really different about this album is like their first the albums like three albums before this, it was raw. I was like, I can't say it's. I mean, their first album was really raw. It was like pure grindcore, I guess gore grind. If you're going to overclassify it, which I don't. But and then their second album was still, like the gore grind, and they started to incorporate death metal elements. And then on their third album, I mean, they still had a little bit of grindcore left over, but they've turned more to like death metal. And then they end up like this. They got rid of the grindcore for good, basically. It sounds more like it sounds more like a type of rock album, basically. I mean, it's still death metal, but like this really sounds like really different from the first 3 albums. Like they changed their lyrical content. It's like this is more about like somewhat about love. I mean, I can't say it's directly really about love. I don't really pay attention to lyrical content on this album, but I know this does not talk about gore. And the backup vocals that Bill Steer did on the first 3 albums, well, that's gone too. And then they brought along the guitarist, the guy who I think formed, I don't know if he formed Arch Enemy, but yeah, he like as Carcass broke up, he like entered into Arch Enemy, and this really I think was like one of Michael Amnett's like first albums. And I mean, he's a really good guitar player, but like whenever he showed up on this album, I mean, it was completely different. I mean, relatively, even though if this is a different Carcass, and the same goes with their album after this, it's still a good album. I mean, not gonna lie, some people are like, man, this album sucks because it doesn't sound like the original Carcass. Well, I disagree with that. I mean, it doesn't sound like the original Carcass, but I mean, there's some good stuff on here. And my favorite part about this, like the pathologist report, like of Heartwork, is the demo part. Demos sound, I think, better than the studio quality. I mean, that's just me. But this is their like starting point of where they just got rid of the grindcore. Basically, Carcass is noted for like creating grindcore. Like they're noted as being like the fathers of grindcore, melodic death metal. But I think the reason now I'm going back. I know I'm getting off topic here. Going back to this part there. On the cover, they said they could not like afford like a good artist, but like what they did is for some reason, I mean, they left the logo off there, which I guess that signals a change in musical direction. The I think the demos were put out, and now, as I said, I'm going back on the topic here. Now the demos, the demos here were put out in like February of '93, and that was like of course right before they put out this album. And on this first part right here, this now like where this is pathologist report, Um, this right here is the demos right here. This is demo disc number 1. I mean, this is disc number 1. This is the only demo disc. And here's the main CD. Now I was going to get their third album, but for some reason I got this instead. I got it from the record store FYE, and like just after I bought this, the store closed down. And here is the DVD right here. So yes, a three disc set. If you buy the Pathologist Report, which came out in 2008, and this is like a good solo release, but it sounds like nothing close to like the first album. Now, if I was going to rate this album, I would give it like at least a 7 out of 10 or 6 out of 10. Just for, I mean, the quality's good for like basically this sounds like it came out in '05. The quality is so good on this album. I mean, just for the good guitar works and such, and the vocals on this album are kind of meh, because they're not the type of, I can't say they're guttural, but they're not the type you hear in like grindcore. It's just, it sounds more directed to melodic death metal, you could say. And they recently reformed with the same, well, I was going to say the same lineup, but Ken Owen, the drummer, he's had health problems, and he's not really in the band anymore. He makes like a few appearances, but like the album after this would be like his last album with Carcass before like they broke up and they formed, I think Black Star. It was like some, I really don't know much about that band, but I think they're like some type of rock band. Well, that sums this review up of Heartwork.